All right, my name is Craig Swanson. I'm here to read my final paper for Challenging Conversations at Mitchell Hamlin School of Law, a class I took June 4th and 5th here in St. Paul. Uh, so here's the paper. Challenging Conversations, June 17th, 2016. Final assignment by Craig Swanson. I began the final assignment using the prescribed template given to us in class, preparing for a challenging conversation. I was glad to have it because I've been thinking about a particular conversation with my girlfriend for quite some time and wasn't sure how to go about conducting it other than to just begin. The template was helpful and helped me to frame the conversation in a way that took much of the anxiety away from the situation. I began by asking two questions. What is my goal, and why should I conduct the conversation? Those two answers seemed easy. I wanted to talk with my girlfriend about the departure date that we had set to move from Minnesota to Texas. I wanted to consider a more flexible time period in which to pack up and move. I no longer believed that our original target departure date would work well. I saw that it wasn't going to fit our changing situation. She and I had so many different things going on all at once, and so few things that had come to be more concrete, that greater flexibility with our moving date seemed to be the best course of action until more could be known about the immediate future. I then tried to define my perspective to myself. I believed that greater flexibility would be better for us because so few things that we were both working on have come to an end. In short, we had too many, quote, balls in the air to just leave town without one or more of them falling back to earth. For example, we were still trying to sell our house. We hadn't yet gotten rid of those things that we did not want to bring with us. My schooling was not yet finished, and we were waiting for the start date for my girlfriend's new job in Texas. I didn't want to move without greater certainty as to what would happen next. In my mind, we needed more time. I then had to ask myself a very basic and challenging question. How have I contributed to this situation? The first part of the answer was simple. I am at least half of the problem. I made an entire series of decisions that have helped to lead us to this place. Those decisions are too numerous to count in detail, but it started by talking to my girlfriend about seeking higher degrees. We were teachers who wanted more than what the classroom had to offer. We thought that more school and terminal degrees were the answer. We were willing to move across the country in the hopes of qualifying ourselves for something more. We found ourselves at Hamlin University as a result. 4 years later, she had a law degree, and I was finishing my doctorate, and we had to figure out how to make our next move to Texas in the best possible way. My girlfriend had her own perspective. She preferred to go to Texas as early as possible. We could stay with my mother and be in closer proximity to her new job. This would allow her to make the move to southern Texas more easily whenever she received her start date to her new job from her new employer. I knew this was her preference. We had already discussed this a few weeks earlier. I understood that delaying our move could create some anxiety. I also knew that we were talking about an extra 4 weeks, not an extra 6 to 8 weeks. In light of current events and the general slow speed of her new employer and the background check process, I thought it was not only worth the risk, but that it might even be cheaper. I wouldn't have to move to Texas, then drive back up to Minnesota for my last class at Hamlin University in July. The back and forth of it all would cost a lot of money in gas and hotels alone. I felt that the conversation was necessary and that some sort of plan had to be discussed so as to avoid any unnecessary conflict. I wasn't sure how the next few weeks would work out exactly, but I did know that we needed to be on the same page so that any adjustments to our new plan could be done together. I did not believe there was anything about our conversation that would make the other person lose control or walk away. We don't do that. What I did expect was a difference of opinion combined with general anxiousness toward doing more of what we had already been doing, which was to be even more patient with our current situation. My last decision before actually speaking with her was to address the PTAP, participants, timing, atmosphere, and place. That turned out to be the easiest part. I forewarned her about the conversation before dinner by asking if after dinner would be a good time to talk. It was just the two of us sitting out on our back deck at home in the evening. I began by saying, quote, "Can we talk about how we might make a better move from St. Paul to Texas?" unquote. We sat there as the sun was going down with a glass of wine and worked everything out in about 30 minutes. The learning stage of the conversation/assignment began as soon as I started to speak. The preparation was the key element for the entire conversation. I could tell right away that she felt calm as I began to air my concerns for leaving too early and the merits of waiting a little longer. I saw, too, that my message was received in a way that provoked greater thought to the problem and a solution. The process seemed to streamline our collective thought processes in a more collaborative fashion. I felt much calmer during the conversation as well. Because I had already worked out much of what I had to say, I was able to lay out the situation and those relevant facts in a rational way. As a result, it was easier to listen to my girlfriend as she voiced her concerns and potential solutions. The process seemed much more rational and thoughtful. It felt like we were doing something together. I also learned that it's good to have a few of our own. It's also good to have a few of our own solutions. Explaining my position and why I saw things the way I did helped my girlfriend to understand where I was coming from. She didn't disagree with why I wanted to make changes to our plans at all. Instead, she sought to make my ideas more useful for our situation. It's hard to have all the good ideas all the time. You need somebody to help you out. Ultimately, my overarching idea was changed a little and made more practical. This is something I could not have done by myself. In addition, being willing to seek solutions with another person is a collaborative learning experience that can have a powerful impact on how people develop and operate. For us, I think this approach helped us to promote a positive attitude towards the subject matter. We were becoming a little stressed by the situation. We needed something to alleviate that stress while still achieving our goals. It helped us to further develop our oral communication skills. We have always been good communicators. Now we're even better. We also need to stimulate our collective critical thinking skills in regard to this particular problem. We had come up with a good plan prior to this conversation. Now we had another good plan to meet the changing situation. Finally, the conversation helped us to clarify ideas through discussion and debate and establish an atmosphere of cooperation. We have always been good at this. We came away from the conversation with a renewed sense of confidence in regard to our collaborative skills. In conclusion, the preparation sheet was essential for a better and more productive experience. It helped me to streamline my thought process and therefore helped me to develop a better and more effective conversation. The process was less emotional overall. That is to say that it was emotional, but not so much that my emotions were in control of me. I used my emotional state to better understand myself and present a solid argument. As a result, I had more time to listen and understand someone else. That alone was paramount to my being able to move forward within the conversation in a much more productive way. Other people's thoughts are important. I needed those thoughts of my girlfriend to make my ideas work better. A more respectful tone was set as well. I think that helped the conversation immensely. We were both patient with each other. We understood the necessity of the conversation, and we both wanted to do a good job. The process was also less stressful. It was less about the problem and more about what to do about that problem. We didn't waste time raising our voices or blaming each other for anything. In the end, this was a thoughtful approach that led to a more appropriate outcome.